Anybody that says they were cheating, yeah, they definitely manipulated some hood louvers, but those were confiscated before we even raced. So at the end of the day, they were fast either way. What kind of impact it made, I don't know. It'll come out. You know, we might have to wait a few days or a week or so. It's going to come out in a report. What's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bang, coming to you live right here, Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Another episode of Rubbin' and Grubbin'. Rubbin' is racing, grubbin' is tasting. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday night. I know I am. I am off, headed to Atlanta tomorrow morning, vacation for a few days, and get to see a race thrown in there, man. So I'm super stoked. So if you know how we like to start it off, we always start it off with the word of the day. So word of the day, basically, if you're first time tuning in, every time I say this word tonight, you're going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. And I always say it's age appropriate. If you're under 21, hey, man, it's Wednesday. Patty's Day coming up Friday. Pretty sure everybody's got that day out of school, man. Get some Coke, some soda, get a little bit of sweet tea, a little energy drink, man. Get up, stay up late, man. So last week's word of the day was Blaney, which talking about, I'm pretty sure he was number one on my list. I'd be saying I said that quite a few times. Probably had a good buzz by the time it was all said and done. But there again, this week's word of the day is going to be, I have no idea, but every time I say it, take a sip of your favorite adult beverage, y'all. So getting into that NASCAR news, man, the biggest news that dropped today, as we all know, the penalties get handed down not only to Hendrick Motorsports, but Denny as well. But we're going to start with those Hendrick Motorsports penalties there. So after confiscating louvers there after practice or during practice Friday at Phoenix, NASCAR R&D department said they were illegal. So level 2 penalty, basically what we saw Brad Keselowski get hit with last year. We got 100 owner and driver points coming off that, $100,000 fine each, and 10 playoff points for each team. The only team that did not lose the points, obviously, is Chase Elliott, Josh Berry. He's not gaining any points for that team right now. Big deal. I mean, but at the end of the day, this is what I like to say, man. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Goes back to the old school days. They're trying to, progress and push the boundaries a little bit. I mean, you don't know unless you test the waters, and you're never going to be Hendrick Motorsports unless you do. So, hey, they got busted. They got popped. I mean, at the end of the day, I still expect all 4 of those drivers to make the playoffs, Chase included when he comes back, even with the penalties. I mean, William Byron, 2 wins. Kyle Larson's on the verge right there, as we can see. I mean, Alex Bowman was leading the points up before we got this penalty handed down. So at the end of the day, like I said, I still think they're going to make the playoffs, all of them. But it is a big deal, man. Biggest money fine ever in NASCAR history right there, $400,000 for Rick Hendrick, which if anybody knows Hendricks, I'm sure that's just a little bit of chump change in the pocket. So William Byron, man, back-to-back races. First time since 2007 a 24 car has won back-to-back. Obviously, my main man, the GOAT to me, Jeff Gordon. Pretty cool deal there. Byron, won stage 1 there at Phoenix. Seemed like he didn't have a shot. Late race caution, 2 wins, man. But, I always nicknamed him William the Kid because he doesn't like being called Billy because he said that's his dad's nickname. But I got a new one, William Big Hat Byron. There we go, man. What the hell, pretty good one right there. So, but at the end of the day, man, like I said, came home victorious, back-to-back wins there. And, hey, we'll see if he can three-peat coming up at Atlanta and see who's number 1 on my list in just a bit. So getting into that Denny Hamlin, man. Denny Hamlin spitting the gospel on his podcast there earlier in the week, talking about the incident between him and Ross Chastain there late at Phoenix. And I'm not going to ruin it for you. If you hadn't seen it, make sure you go check it out. It's a really neat little podcast. He kind of goes in depth, doesn't really bite his tongue much, which kind of got him in the trouble he's in now. But at the end of the day, basically he said, look, I'm going to finish mid-teens anyways. I'm going to let Jesus take the wheel, and he's coming with me pretty much. So, and that's kind of what he attempted to. Now, another segment in that podcast, which is pretty neat when he's talking about this, was the fact he said, I'll give that MFer his due, that he's probably the hardest person to spin out whenever you're trying to wreck him and he knows it's coming. So he did give him a little bit of props there, and they had a conversation after the race, which never got physical or didn't seem too heated. So interesting to see what was said there. But if you hadn't, go check it out. There again, Denny Hamlin got docked 25 points and $50,000. I mean, all for saying basically he did it intentionally. So maybe he'll kind of bite his lip a little bit and say, well, I just got tight and pushed up into him, and it was a racing deal. But he went ahead and, spoke the truth and took the blame there and owned up to it. So give him props for that. But pretty neat. Go check that out. So commitment line at Atlanta for pit road is moved, which this is going to be very interesting for us, and definitely depending on green flag pit stops or if anybody has trouble and has to come to pit road. So it's at the entry of turn 3. You have to be woed up to pit road speed. So basically you got to go all the way through 3 and 4 and down pit road to your pit stall under that speed. Which I get it, it's a safety deal. You can't come out of the pack at Atlanta, what we're seeing now, and peel down onto pit road under those speeds. I mean, we're just asking for some carnage. But it's going to be interesting. Like I said, if you got an issue, a loose wheel, a flat tire, or anything, and you've got to come down at that speed, you're probably going to lose 2 laps if the field stays under green. Now, the more interesting aspect of it will be if we do see green flag pit stops. As we see Daytona and Talladega, those super speedways a lot wider, a lot longer than what Atlanta is. How they group up to make those moves to the bottom to make those pit entries on and off, which could split 2 packs. It could become 2 packs and seeing if one can catch the other. So going to be very interesting. I think there again it just adds into that all-new Atlanta. Last year was that first year, the new configuration, the new banking, everything there. This just kind of adds into it, being a very unique one of its own track, my favorite track, my home track. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to wait and see what happens on Sunday, but it should be very interesting there again. Like I said, anything under green or green flag pit stops, it's going to be interesting to watch for sure. So before we go any further, I do want to give a big shout out there. If you haven't yet, please go out, like, share, follow all the social media. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Definitely make sure you go out and subscribe and like all the videos on our YouTube channel, Rubbin' and Grubbin'. We're actually gave away the Larson helmet, man. We hit 250 plus subscribers, and as we said, that Larson helmet was going away. So we randomly asked Alexa to pick a number between 1 and 250, and she picked number, 1 and 261. That's how many we had at the time, sorry. Picked number 252. So the Larson helmet is going out to a subscriber named Fast Car Living. Congratulations on that, man. Thanks for the subscribe and follow. Hope you guys really do enjoy the show. So we'll be getting that out to them here, probably not this week, probably first part of next week. Going to be very neat. But we do have this Harvick helmet up. Same deal, man. Autographed Kevin Harvick, the closer himself, retirement year coming out. Cool helmet here. Like I said, we're going to be doing something special with this one. Just wanted you guys to get a sneak peek of it. So at the end of the day, Chevrolet, again, like I said, has been dominating. I expect them to continue it. There again, Chase Elliott, one of the best Chevrolet drivers, isn't in the field out there right now. Josh Berry got a top 10, bringing it home, which is pretty cool. But there again, at the end of the day, I think Chevy's got something to prove. I think they're ready to come back and dominate the sport. And when you look at it, there are a lot of Chevrolets out there, especially with Richard Childress kind of upping their game this year and what we've seen with Kyle Busch. I think that it's only a matter of time before you see Chevy wheel off some more. I mean, at the end of the day, with the tracks that we're going to here coming up, the road course racers that are in that equipment, in Chevrolet equipment, I think we can see them easily maybe get 7 out of the first 10. I mean, maybe 6. I'd probably take 6 out of the first 10 races. Could all be Chevrolet drivers taking that win. So something to keep an eye on there for sure. So Sammy Smith, man, got to give a big shout out to the high school senior there, 18 years old, man, studies on the road, races on the weekends, victorious in that JGR Xfinity car there at Phoenix, man. I tell you what, kid's got some really good talent. I think that he's definitely going to be somebody you got to watch for in the future. I really hope they don't move him up too quick. But I think the writing's on the wall there at JGR. They're getting ready to do what Hendrick did a few years back and going to have to restock and revamp their teams. You got guys that are getting older retiring and guys moving on. So lost Kyle Busch last year, obviously signed the grandchild Ty. I think Sammy Smith will be the next. Denny Hamlin, we know, FedEx is leaving that sponsorship, and he's probably on the back end of his career as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next year moving forward. And there again, Truex, I think he's got at least 1 more year left on his deal. So writing's on the wall there for a few guys. There again, we'll see if they go and get a veteran when that time comes, when those contracts are up, or if they promote one of their younger drivers in a lower series. John Hunter Nemechek's been doing a really good job as well. So, but do have to give a big shout out to Sammy Smith. Like I said, 18 years old, high school senior, goes out and wins that Xfinity race. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So kudos to you, brother. So that's going to wrap it up for the NASCAR news, man. Before we get into that next segment, everybody, we're going to pause for station identification right here on Coach's Corner Sports Network. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday night. Cheers, y'all. So getting into it, man, that checkered flag for charity. And I tell you what, this one is close to home again this year. A friend of mine, a friend of a lot of folks there out on Tybee, Miss Jamie Searhouse Monroe. Been going through it the last few months, y'all, and I just want to say again, big thanks and shout out to everybody that came out and supported this past weekend at that Cooler Full of Joy as well. We got some more coming up. I mean, there's a lot of shows going down here in the Sound Garden at Coach's, and we do them quite often for quite a few. We've got some things later in the season as well, but we do got some big concerts coming up, and I just, like I said, just want to say thanks to all the patrons and everybody here at Coach's that donated in. So you know how we do it. Whatever car number wins, we donate in. Bam, man, 24 more bucks going into that bucket there. That brings that total in the short season we've had in 4 weeks, $978, man. So we're almost to 1,000. I tell you, this woman is an awesome lady, one of the nicest, coolest people you're ever going to meet in your life. So laid back, and really appreciates all the help that she's getting. So at the end of the day, we're going to keep raising this money up for those costs and everything for the family. At least through probably middle of May into May, and then we're going to move on to something else. But at the end of the day, the more money we raise, the more it helps, man. Like I say all the time, nickels, pennies, dimes, 10, 20s, 150s, doesn't matter what you got to give. You get to feel good, and it goes to a good cause that all stays local right here in our area, man. So if you guys plan on coming up to one of the concerts where we're doing a Cooler Full of Joy, make sure you bring a little bit of extra cash, donate in. Worst thing that can happen is you get a feel good out of it. Best thing, you go home with a cooler full of alcohol. So it's a win-win, man. So moving into the next segment, man, sponsored by Arbor Man Tree Service. Before we do, got to give a big shout out to my main man, Parker Eccles out there. He'll be coming up to Atlanta this weekend as well. Ready to see him. Can't wait, man. Always a good time with him. But any kind of tree service you need in the Savannah area, like I said, make sure you give Parker a call over there at Arbor Man. You'll see that number scrolling all night. Like I like to say all the time, no job too big, too small, give Parker a call. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's full tree removal, stump grinding, cutting back some limbs, or hell, if you just need a free estimate, an estimate on what it takes, man, what you need done, Parker's more than happy to come out. Like I say, locally owned, locally operated, insured. He's the man on the mission, man. So again, any tree service, make sure you give Arbor Man a call, Mr. Parker Eccles over there. Again, you'll see that number scrolling. Parker, I love you, brother. Thank you for everything you do, not only for the show, man, but everything you do as doing you, brother. Love you, man. I'll see you this weekend. I'm going to call you tomorrow as well. So getting into that who's hot and who's not, we'll start it out with the who's hot. I mean, well, a new front runner has emerged as if it's any secret. William Big Hat Byron takes over. I mean, how can he not? Back-to-back wins. Been running good all season, getting caught up in that stuff at Daytona. But at the end of the day, the 24 car's got it going on. And I tell you what, had Chase kept 24, I would have stayed on the 24 team. I am a 24 man. That has been the only driver I ever pulled for was Jeff Gordon until he retired. And then Chase Elliott fell into that 24 for a couple years there and then went on to the 9. So Georgia boy, got to stay with my boy. But I tell you what, if there's a second, I'd definitely pull for William Byron in that 24. I mean, it's a historic NASCAR number. What Gordon did in it kind of sets the level of what kind of driver you're going to put into it to see what they can do. And William Byron is finally, I think, coming into his own and answering that call. Not being scared to put the car where it needs to go. There's a lot of folks out there that say he backed into this one, which we're going to talk about a little bit further in the show. I got that saved for another segment. But at the end of the day, I think bringing Rudy Fugle over, his truck series, crew chief there when he was at KBM, really helped pay dividends for the communication aspect of that team and just all around building those race cars. So they got it going on. And like I said, don't be surprised if they go back to back to back, all three coming up here at Atlanta. Won the inaugural on that new configuration last spring. He can do it again. I'm telling you, kid's a good driver, man. So big shout out to William Byron. Kyle Larson, I mean, I got to put him on here. He gets back on that hot list, man. He's a man on a mission. Dominated the last couple races, just didn't work out for him at all. Like I say, him and Cliff Daniels have really good communication. They bring fast cars every single week. I think this is a guy that you're going to see reel off at least 3 to 4 wins again this season. The biggest issue that I have with Kyle Larson right now, and I was talking about this with my dad, is they can't close the race out. Whether it's out of their control or whether it's something that happens, they just can't close it to get that win. There again, I think the Las Vegas caution was a little bit manipulated through NASCAR. I think that one, NASCAR definitely cost him a win there. I mean, he was tearing it up. This one, William Byron, maintained in that top 5 all day long. Caution comes out. I mean, let's be honest, he wasn't going to win it. Harvick had him smoked anyways. But it just came out. You know, he won the race off pit road. He restarted. Byron got him. I mean, it's just the way a cookie crumbles sometimes. But any Larson fans out there, don't be discouraged. I mean, you keep running up front the way he is in the fast race cars and leading the laps he's leading, it's only a matter of time before he starts peeling off those wins again. Like I said, biggest issue is closing them out, man. Speaking of the closer, Kevin Harvick makes the hot list, man. I tell you what, Harvick is coming on in that retirement season. This is something that we hadn't seen the past couple years. And he's a Ford. Lawrence is throwing it up there. I'll throw $1 in. That's a swear word to me, so another $1 goes in there. But at the end of the day, I mean, when you look at it, he's come on this season compared to the last couple. You know, I know he had the wins there last year, later in the season, at a couple of his best tracks. But he seems like he's on the hunt to get a win early. And I really thought it was coming at Phoenix, that late caution. The pit decision to take 4 tires kind of got him there. And conversations out there on social media are about what to do with the green-white checkered. You know, we cried about races ending under caution forever. Now we're crying about the green-white checkered and the strategy that plays into it. I mean, my honest opinion, I think that we should probably, once we get inside 10 laps, caution laps don't count. The only problem with that is if we keep wrecking, we're going to keep running 10 laps, right? So maybe inside 5. Maybe if we wreck inside 5 laps, the cautions don't count, keeps it. Something like that would work out great. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Write it in there. But at the end of the day, I really hope Harvick does go home victorious. I hope he has a deep playoff run for his retirement year. I think it's something that he deserves, just, a staple of the sport, especially for senior fans that when we lost Dale Sr., 3 weeks later, we got Kevin Harvick hopping in and doing his thing and getting his first win there at Atlanta. So for me, it's history. It's historic. He'll forever be tied to Dale Sr. He'll forever have his own legacy as well in the sport. I mean, definitely first ballot Hall of Famer, past champion. But at the end of the day, I really hope Atlanta does something neat for him. I hope they do. I hope we go to some tracks where they do some stuff just for Kevin Harvick. It's just what I think he deserves. But anyways, hope he gets some wins. But for right now, he's on that hot list, man. So next gen fans, let's see. Here we go. All right, that'll wrap it up for the hot. We're on to the not. Eric Almirola is going to take over the not list, number 1, and it's just the cautions, man. I tell you what, he talked about retirement last year after that season, decided he was going to come back. Talented race car driver, you have to be to race at this level, but I think we've seen the best of Eric Almirola, and I don't mean that personally. I just mean that through a business aspect and a fan aspect. You can't control what happened, the tires and this and that. Vegas, you can't control them throwing a caution for you. He did everything to save it, tagged along, kept going, which I don't know why we threw it, but we did. This week, you couldn't control that. Tire let go, something malfunctioned, hit the wall pretty good. I like Eric Almirola. I just really hope he does better. We got to get some consistency going. We know he's got good equipment over there at Stewart-Haas. With Harvick coming out, I just think that the communication just isn't where it needs to be with that 10 team. So hopefully they get it together and stride forward as the season moves on. But right now, definitely number 1 on the cold list. 2, this is a guy I really like as well, and I hate to put him on here, but Noah, the problem child, Gregson, and really Legacy Motor Club in general is just cold right now. We saw Eric Jones last year have a lot of really good runs, getting into the first part and early part of that season. Some top 10s, obviously getting that win there at Darlington later on. We know what they're capable of. I think the biggest thing for Noah is just trying to get some laps under his belt in this equipment compared to when he filled in for Bowman last year. Communication is always key, especially with crew chief and team. I think he's just young. He's got to get it figured out. It's going to take him a couple seasons, but he's a good race car driver. But for right now, he's definitely on the cold list. I don't think he's placed inside the top 20 all year yet, so maybe at Atlanta that'll change. He's a pretty good little plate racer or super speedway racer as well, so maybe he'll finally get inside that top 20, get a top 15, top 10 would be great momentum headed forward. So next-gen fans make the list on the cold list, y'all, and this is just not next-gen of people who like the car. No, I mean the next generation of fans that are below me pretty much, younger than me. A majority of them just cry about everything. I hadn't figured this out yet. But they do. They cry about the green-white checkers. They cry about people backing into wins. They cry about the car. They cry about everything. Like, honestly, as fans, they bitch and moan and complain about everything, and I don't get it. Like, I grew up, I remember single-file restarts. I remember cautions ending races. One of the comments I read from one of them was like, I wonder how many races Dale Sr. or Jeff Gordon would have won if, we had green-white checkers. And I wonder how many they would have won if we did. I mean, honestly, I wonder how many they would have, how many times they finished second and just needed a restart, right? Because all the ones they won under caution, guarantee they're going to win, man. So advice for the next generation NASCAR fan is just enjoy the sport. To me, just enjoy the sport. Enjoy what it is. Everybody thinks NASCAR is supposed to be this side-by-side racing, action-packed the whole way through a race. That's just not what it is. You have tracks like Old Atlanta and Charlotte and Martinsville and different tracks where guys, get that lead. But there's racing further back in the pack, and the guy that starts out has a good 25-lap car. There's guys in the back that have a good 40-lap car. It might get stretched out 10 seconds in between first and second. That's just part of what NASCAR is. It's not this side-by-side, manipulate every way to where all we do is, as spectators, is see side-by-side racing. Would that be great? Yeah, cool. You get that at certain tracks. Certain tracks, you're not going to get that. So I think it's just something we just have to accept what it is, enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, as I always say, man, grab the remote, turn the channel. So getting into the Phoenix recap, man, and to be honest, that was a great race. That was an awesome Phoenix race there. I think it was way better than what we saw in the fall for sure there last year. A lot of side-by-side, 3-wide racing. The restarts, as always, are crazy, 5-wide. But at the end of the day, it's what Phoenix is. Do I think it's a true test of what this new short package for the next gen is going to bring? No, I don't. I think it's hard to consider Phoenix and Dover a short track. It really is, right? They're both a mile, or a little bit over, I think, at Phoenix or whatever. But they're both a mile, but they're not a Martinsville. They're not a Richmond. They're not a New Hampshire. They're definitely not a Bristol. It's just not that short style of racing. It's different. I don't know what we should call these tracks, but they're definitely different. So I think once we get into Richmond and Martinsville, we're really going to see what this new aero package with the next-gen car does. But for what it did at Phoenix, it was amazing. I mean, the side-by-side, the restarts, the runs, the guys, there again, you saw Harvick come on late with a long-run car. So I think that we're starting to see maneuverability through the car to be able to set it up to do different things, which we didn't see last year. Last year was pretty much clean air is king. If you're out front, you got to stay out front. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. Very hard to pass in it. I think we're resorting back a little bit to 550 package of 17 and 18. I don't think we're going to get quite that to where it's so aero dependent to where you just stall when you get beside a guy or you can't pass a guy because of the air. But at the end of the day, I think for shorter tracks like Phoenix and like some of these short tracks we're going to, it's a great package. So good race on that. Like I said, William Byron comes home victorious, drives the 24 into victory lane, man, and got the checkers. So awesome win there again for the young driver for Hendrick Motorsports. Anybody that says they were cheating, yeah, they definitely manipulated some hood louvers, but those were confiscated before we even raced. So at the end of the day, they were fast either way. What kind of impact it made, I don't know. It'll come out. We might have to wait a few days or a week or so. It's going to come out in a report, but right now, at the end of the day, they're still fast, and that's all that matters to me. So, good race, good run, good win there by Willie B. Kyle Larson looked like the car to beat all day long. After stage one, Byron won stage one. Larson just dominated from that point forward. I mean, it didn't seem like anybody could catch him until late there in that third stage. Harvick came by him, passed the leader, and set sail. That was a wrap. Harvick had that race wrapped up. Caution came out there. Harrison Burton spinning out. Caution came out. Harvick came in, decided to take 4. Thought that was the right move. Restarted the first car with 4 tires. Lost some position there on that restart. I think Tyler Reddick actually ended up, being in front a little bit with the 4 tires, but still a really good run. There again, late caution, you cannot blame anybody. Larson beat William Byron off pit road on the 2-tire strategy, but on those restarts, it came down to who fired off. Blaney, the guy I had in our weekly luck of the draw game we got going on here at Coaches, I had Blaney. I was pulling for him, man. He ran back there, 6th to 9th all day long, but found himself getting a second place finish. So I don't blame NASCAR. I don't blame anybody on that. I think you just got to be able to execute in any situation. So, at the end of the day, 24 came home victorious, man. Like I said, good race there in the desert. I really am looking forward to getting back in the fall. It's going to hurt my boy Chase a little bit not having that notebook to fall on this year, but he got a lot of teammates, and they all share information. Maybe not the exact setups, but they'll share it, and Chase is good enough, man. He'll get it this year, man. I'm telling you, 2023 champion, Chase Elliott, after missing 6 races with a broken leg. Coming back, going to kill it, going to be on fire, man. So next segment, we're getting into that Atlanta preview, man. And like I said, I got to give a big shout out to my home track and everybody that does what they do at Atlanta, from the PR department to the concessions to everybody that makes this race go around. I tell you, I've been going to this race since I was 4 years old. I'm 37. I have missed only a few there in high school years. Obviously, mom and dad gone, keg parties, you know, hanging out. But I didn't miss many. And to be honest with you, this is like a big deal to me. I have a lot of memories made at this racetrack, from the times when it was a guy trip with my dad and my uncles and great Uncle Bear, my great Uncle King, as you hear, and my Uncle Bobby and my dad, and a lot of their friends from Southern Illinois came up back in those days. A lot of funny stories there, which I probably can't tell on air, but a lot of good stuff there, all the way to points where my cousins came, you know, my cousin Amy and her husband, now husband. At the time, I think they were dating when they actually first started coming to Atlanta, and my aunt and my grandma and my great uncle always, you know. So for me, going to Atlanta is just, it brings back a lot of really good childhood memories for me. A lot of stuff that I got to see and witness growing up, NASCAR history and autographs that I got going down, you know, to the garage area way before it was figured the way it is now. And you know, just from the autographs from the top, from the best guys all the way down to those guys in the back that are just humble and just there and happy to sign everything. So it's just, it holds a special place in my heart. It always will. The Atlanta man will always be on the infield at Atlanta Motor Speedway until the day that we quit racing there, which I hope never happens. But I will always be there, man. So Atlanta, I live in Savannah, but Atlanta Motor Speedway is my home away from home for sure. So going to be interesting. Like I said, man, it's basically the third race we've had on the new configuration. It's going to be cold, which is going to be interesting. These cars are going to be revved up, man, and ready to roll. Cold temps, man. You know, that cold air definitely makes some more horsepower, or at least it used to. Now it's fuel injected, so you know it's going to be a little different. But I think the air pumping in is going to do some things, depending on how they handle. You know, the wind, everything else. I mean, we haven't really had the big one yet at Atlanta. We've had a lot of cautions. I think the spring race last year brought out 11 with the stages, and I think the summer race brought out 13 with the stages. But we haven't seen the big one yet, man. We haven't seen the runners up front wreck and take out 10, 12, 15 cars. I think we're going to see that, and it's going to be pretty interesting if we see it, how many cars actually get knocked out. Talladega and Daytona, you have a lot of places to go. I know it happens fast, but you have a lot of track to move. Atlanta, you don't have anything to move around. You're pretty much just going to hold on and hope that you make it through, you know, days of thunder. So going to be interesting on that aspect. Like I said, William Byron won that first inaugural spring race there at the all-new Atlanta. We'll see if he can do it again. Make sure you tune in, man. Tune in all weekend long. Xfinity, you got a doubleheader truck and Xfinity race on Saturday, which is always awesome. I think that's an awesome deal they do there at Atlanta, and I love the fact they swapped it around and put that truck race first and then that Xfinity race. And you never know, man, who you're going to see on TV. You might see Atlanta man himself live on TV again, man. I'm going for it. I always do. I do the same get up every single year, man, and I give it hell. I root them on, man, and I think it helps. I honestly think that it just gives them motivation. So at the end of the day, like I said, tune in. I'm pretty sure that race starts at 3:30 Sunday. Be on Fox, man. Make sure you tune in. Like I say, never know who you might see. So getting into the top 5, and this is tough. I mean, we're back to super speedway style racing. This can be anybody's ball game. This is really tough to pick of somebody that you really think is going to go out and dominate and win the race. But I'll take William Byron. I'll take William Big Hat Byron, number one on the list. Sorry, y'all got the hiccups. Number one on the list, man. Back-to-back wins. Really got the momentum going right now. Won it last spring when we were there. I think that if things fall right, he definitely finds himself in a position to be able to capture another flag, which would be crazy. 3 in a row is something to be very proud of, and especially after coming off of the penalties, I got a feeling Hendrick Motorsports is going to be there to dominate. They're going to be there to run fast and win. So we'll see what he can do, but I'll take William Byron, number 1. 2 for me, Ryan Blaney, man. Ryan Blaney, there again to me, Ford, yeah, we'll throw another dollar in. This is my last one. Ryan Blaney is probably the best super speedway racer that we have out there right now. I mean, Chase Elliott's got a couple wins on him too, but Ryan Blaney always seems to find himself in a place to be able to win these races. Now, Atlanta's a little different ball game. It happens a lot faster. You kind of get stuck where you're at. It's really hard to make those passes. So I think where they qualify and where they run and what kind of speed they have pit strategy-wise and making no mistakes, which has been a downfall. I noticed last week, first couple pit stops for Blaney there, they lost 3 spots on one and then I think 2 on another, which I wasn't happy with, but it happens. So if they get that tightened up, I think he's got a really good shot. 3, another guy that there again has won a super speedway race. I'll take Ross Chastain, man. Ross Chastain in that one over there at Trackhouse has been running pretty good all season long, pretty much similar to what he did last year. I think I might end up eating some words. We're still early in the season, but I did kind of give them a downgrade compared to last year, thinking they might stumble with the little sophomore slumps, but they haven't. And I think that it just speaks volumes on what Justin Marks and Pitbull and all the investors over there at Trackhouse are putting into that program, especially with 2 cars. You know, it wouldn't surprise me to see in the next couple of years if Trackhouse brings 3. But right now they got 2, and Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man, kind of leads that pack, so I'll definitely take him 3rd. 4 for me, I'll take Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, there again, I think had a decent run going. I mean, he should have probably got the finish in the points instead of taking out Ross Chastain there at Phoenix. But, you know, each is their own. You know, that's for him to do and for him to figure out, and it's his season. So, but I do think he will have a good run there at Atlanta. I think there again, probably the best super speedway driver we have outside of a couple others, especially at Daytona. But I think Atlanta, we still got to get it figured out. Nobody's really figured it out yet, and I think Denny Hamlin has potential to make that happen. So I'll take him 4th. 5 for me, this is probably going to catch some people by surprise. There's no Joey Logano on here in the 22, which I might eat my words on that as well. But I'll take the 20 of Christopher Bell. And it sounds a little different, but Christopher Bell almost had this race won last year too. He kind of got shuffled back there towards the end with Bubba Wallace. I think he got spun out in an accident or something. Still finished, I think, halfway decent. But he was running up front all day. And Christopher Bell, I think this is the year where you see Christopher Bell really start to reel off those top 10, top 5s and contend for wins majority of the time. I think that he's had enough time behind the wheel over at Gibbs to get the communication down, to figure out, you know, what he needs, the feel he needs in the race car. And I think this is the year where he probably gets multiple wins this year as well. We saw him put the stank on him there at New Hampshire last year. I think he can do it. I think he can definitely win multiple races. So I'll go with him 5th. He might win in Atlanta. Might surprise me. Dark horses, man. Now look, me and Lawrence had it going on the money line last year all the way until the very end, man. We were going to be sitting, I mean, like kings. But I got to take this guy every time we go to Atlanta. He really showed me what he was all about in both races there last year, and that's Corey LaJoie. And that's going to be a dark horse, man. They're going to sleep on him there at Atlanta. You're probably going to get some really pretty good odds on that. Keep an eye out for him, though. He knows how to get around. He knows how to figure it out. He had it figured out in both races. Almost came home victorious. I wish he would have just stayed in second and not hit Chase Elliott as hard as he did when Elliott threw the block last summer. But he did. But I think he's definitely going to come home with another good finish, so that's somebody to keep an eye on. Another guy out there, 6 of Brad Keselowski, and that's a guy that easily could have made the hot list. I tell you what, hasn't gotten the finishes that I think he quite deserves. That Roush Fenway Ford is fast. I will say that. He is fast. Busher still has a little bit of work to do, but I think his tracks, kind of the tracks that fit his style, come in a little bit later in the year, but they got to get that team rolling. But Keselowski right now is fast, and we all know how good he is at super speedway racing, so I'll definitely put the 6 in the mix of the dark horse. And last but not least, man, Eric Jones. Eric Jones was top 3 in the summertime too and just didn't come home with it the way we needed him to. But I will take him again. I think Eric Jones there again, if he has a fast race car and stays out of trouble, doesn't lose track position on pit road, I think that he's got a good shot at getting a really good finish, top 10 for sure. So we'll see what happens, but those will be the dark horses, man. So moving into that money line. Man, you guys know the money line, man. Money line presented by Redfin. I tell you what, best polarized sunglasses on the planet. Does not matter if you got money on the line or a wall hanger. Make sure you see it clearly with the best sunglasses on the planet. Polarized lenses, Italian frames, man. I mean, these things are sweet. I got Lawrence's on tonight because I forgot mine at the house, which usually I don't do, but I did. But I tell you what, man, these things are made for the water, the wood, the lake. I tell you, they got so many different styles. Make sure you check them out. And the best part, man, they are Georgia owned as well, which is awesome. So, man, you're supporting your state. You know what I mean? Come on, man. My favorite pair of sunglasses by far. But like I say, whether you're on the water or in the woods, make sure you live life fins up with Redfin. When you go to checkout, put in code Rubbin'n'Grubbin15, man, not 15% off at checkout. So, but getting into that money line, like I said, man, we were looking pretty good. We didn't take the car that won last week again, which hurts my feelings. We lost. We're down to 455 units on the year, but we're still doing all right? We're still in the positives, man. We're doing pretty good. I'm liking it so far. I think Atlanta, we were getting ready to go in really hard on some sleepers here, some big odd guys. Lawrence will be there with me. I mean, obviously, him and his family comes up. This is something we look forward to outside of, the show we do every week and our friendship that we have. But we love going to the race together as well. It's just an awesome time. Brings his grandkids up there, his grandsons, and they have a best time, which just reminds me of being their age there. So it's a feel good. It's just like a full circle, man. But we're definitely going in. But there again, like I said, the 24 is going to be on it. Some of those front runners, Blaney, some of these guys that we know are super speedway racers are going to be locked in for wins. Now, we're also going to go on some wins on probably some of those dark horses I mentioned. They got bigger odds. We'll probably go top 3 on a couple of those as well, see if we can't double up somewhere. But at the end of the day, make sure you check out Twitter. If you're following at Rubbin' and Grubbin' on Twitter, make sure you check it out every Sunday morning. Lawrence throws up exactly what we lock in. And if you guys tag along, you might win some money as well. We'll see where we end up at the end of the year. Hopefully, we're in the goods. But at the end of the day, man, we have a lot of fun doing it. And like I said, last year at this track in the summer, man, we were close to hitting a pretty good little stack of units there. So we'll see if we can keep that up. But like I said, make sure you tune in Sundays on Twitter. Follow at Rubbin' and Grubbin'. We'll throw those up there for you for sure. So getting into the next segment of the show, the hard right turn, man. And before we do, this is sponsored by Lamar's Body Shop. Like I say all the time, man, 35 plus years taking care of the Savannah area. Any kind of needs for auto collision, make sure you go see Lamar. 2301 Skidaway Road. It's a hop, skip, and a jump from Coaches, so it's really a win-win. You can drop your car, you can come over to Coaches, have lunch, hang out for a minute, check out the amazing establishment, go back and get your car, right? It's a win-win, man. But again, that's 2301 Skidaway Road. Hop and a skip and jump right up from Coaches, man. And as I said, I always like to say, man, why settle for par? Go see Lamar. Lamar, thank you, brother. Thank you for everything you do, man. And cooler with a hit, brother. Greatly appreciated, man. So getting into that hard right turn, and this is what I was talking about getting lucky or backing into wins, man. And this is something that I swear is a loose term that is thrown around way too much. And it really stuck around with Alex Bowman for the longest time, right? So social media blowing up with people saying William Byron backed into a win. William Byron didn't back into a win. He drove into a win, right? So my definition of backing into a win would be a Justin Haley from Daytona in whatever year that was, or a guy that runs 25th all day long, second, third, fourth car, last to the lead lap, stays out, it rains. You lucked into that one. You backed into it. You made the right call. You stayed out. Hey, if we're going to use that term, that's what I feel like we use that term for, right? Not restarting on a green, white, checkered, beating everybody on the restart and winning, right? And we saw that 2 weeks in a row. Now, week 1, NASCAR threw that caution. I feel like to tighten it back up, that was a little bit of BS caution there. Now, the second one last week there at Phoenix, that was all natural, man. And you can't help that Kevin Harvick comes in and takes 4 tires. That's their call. That's their choice. If it would have won, that would have been a great strategy, but they didn't. Larson took 2. Didn't get as good as restart as William Byron did. Raced him hard, right? Larson said it after the race in his comment. He goes, I expected him to lift a little bit, he pushed him up, and he goes, I expected him to lift, and he didn't. To be honest, he just got outdrove. William Byron outdrove Larson right there at the end of the race on that move. And, William Byron's also got to give, hopefully send a gift, a box of chocolates or something over to Tyler Reddick, because without that push, I think Blaney was going to win that race. But at the end of the day, he came home victorious. You can't downfall and say a man lucked in or backed into it because the caution comes out, or because they used a different pit strategy and come out first and win on the restart. We can't say we backed and lucked into it. It's just a very loose term that's being thrown around. And like I said, it's all up to strategy game. It's what you do on pit road. Do you stay out and take no tires and keep the track position? Do you come in and get 4 like Harvick did? Do you, take 2 and try to beat everybody else off? I mean, this is what crew chiefs get paid to do. It might not always be the right call. It might not pay out, as we saw in Harvick. It didn't pan out for him. But at the end of the day, it's a call you make. There again, like I said, would we be saying Dale Sr. backed into the Daytona 500 because the caution came out and he won it under caution? I mean, nobody's ever said that in their life, right? Everybody's happy that he won the 500. But if we're just going to say backing into a win means you didn't have the dominant car, you didn't lead the most laps, or you didn't race your way to the front, when we're talking about William Byron this last week, that's total BS as well. William stayed inside the top 5 all day long. I think maybe even the top 4. Won stage 1, set sail on him on stage 1, and was running right there, the whole race. So he can't control what cautions come out. He's just got a job to do, and that's go out and win races. And that's exactly what he did. So anybody out there talking about backing into races, I think we really need to hold up on using that term, or lucking out on a win, for people that actually do it. There again, like I said, I would use it in a term if a guy was 25th place, stayed out, and everybody else pitted, and the rain came and it fell, and we're past halfway and he wins a race. You've lucked into that one, man. I mean, we clearly, even they know it, right? But come on, man. This right here, the man earned it. He earned both of them, honestly. He beat Larson out of pits last week. He beat him on the restarts last week and this week. I mean, you can't down him. So would love to hear what you guys think about that in the term, and how you feel it should be used. And, that's just my opinion on it. I mean, we all have them, but that's just my opinion on the way it went down. And like I said, if you're going to back into a win, I'd back into a win every week if that's what we're going to say is backing into a win. I mean, why not? The checkers, Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, he's got 2 victories moving into the playoffs. Going to be an awesome year for William Byron any way he takes those wins. So on to the grubbing. We're not even grubbing tonight. We're grubbing on imaginary sandwiches, man. I got too much good food, too much stuff to get going on tonight. I still got to load up. I got to pack up. I got all kinds of stuff to do to get ready to go to Hot Atlanta tomorrow. I'm still trying to talk my great Uncle King into coming up. That's kind of on my bucket list there before he gets a little bit too old to enjoy it. I got to get him back down here to Georgia to go to at least one more with me. I just got to get him down. So I know he's probably watching tonight. Uncle King, I love you. And I got to get my Uncle Bobby back to one, too. I got to get the old crew back to at least one more. It's just got to happen. Even if it's just Sunday, I love y'all. I want y'all there with me. I got to make that happen. But big shout out to Coach's Corner again. John and Adele Henderson, man. Thanks to everybody out here, all the bartenders, waitresses, waiters. So got to give a big shout out to Coach's Corner Sports Network as well, man. We're holding it down here. We're rubbing and grubbing. We got the 19th hole coming up with Sean and Brent Herb. Them boys there are crazy. Herb brothers are crazy as hell, man. I tell you what, the 19th hole is probably the wildest show that they do. Both Sean and Brent do an amazing job. I mean, the Herbs are crazy as hell anyways, man. Then when you get them boys together drinking, talking golf, there's no telling what's going to happen, man. So make sure you tune into that. That'll be that whole from Thursday to Sunday going through the Masters. They recap on Monday, Lawrence? No, they go back to reality on Monday, which is probably good for their livers. But I got to get on there. I got to get my picks this year, so I'll probably pop in there one of these days, probably Thursday, pop in, give some picks out. I got to pick Sean up a new shirt when we go to Atlanta. He's a Kyle Busch fan, so I got to wear gloves whenever I bring it back because I don't touch that BS. But I'll bring it back for him anyways. But do got to give a big shout out to Coach Carl DeMasi as well. Carl DeMasi does that prep sports report every Saturday right here live at Coach's. 9 until Coach runs out, and I tell you what, he's got a lot of local stars, young athletes come on the show, a lot of people from around the city that are involved in sports, and like I said, it doesn't matter if it's basketball, baseball, football, swimming, lacrosse, hell, I think he had bass fishing on there. I think now they got bass fishing in high school, which, where was this in my day? I mean, I would have signed right up for that. That would be the coolest class ever. But at the end of the day, Coach keeps you up to date with everything, man. And, Coach, got to give you a big shout-out. Love you. Miss you. I hadn't seen you in a few weeks, man. But, anytime we get on this baseball, which hopefully they do it again, which I'm pretty sure they are, who's on first base, Coach DeMasi and Kyle Lawson, they keep you up to date with everything MLB, trades, who's hot, who's not, going on through the season. So hopefully I get hop back on the who's on first base with Coach. That's always a good time. But at the end of the day, make sure you tune in to that Prep Sports Report, like I said, live right here at Coach's Corner Sports Network, 9 until every Saturday morning, man. Atlanta bound, baby. We are Atlanta bound. I'm headed out first thing in the morning. I got to load up tonight. I've got to make a couple quick stops. We are going to get up and get there bright and early and be waiting on that tunnel to open, man. I cannot wait to get there. There again, like I said, is the home away for home. I'm excited. Me and the wife get to spend some time together. My parents go. Lawrence and his family goes. The whole Turn 2 crew. Some of them coming in from Florida. Some of them coming in from other places, man. Mr. Bubba, I love you, brother. Kenny, bartender Kenny coming in. Big E. I mean, Rick. I don't know who all's coming in, but these boys come in. They come in deep. Part of the Turn 2 crew and that family. I love y'all, man. We always look forward to this. I can't wait to see y'all here coming up tomorrow. Always a good time. Patty's Day Friday, going to be raining, but that never ever stopped us from having a good time in that infield ever before, and I doubt it will this time too. So love y'all, man. Brothers, I hope I see y'all very soon, man. The sooner the better for sure. I'm going to get out of here. Like I said, thanks to everybody for tuning in tonight. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday, man. As I say all the time, make sure you hug your loved ones, man. Give them a kiss, give them a hug. Call and check on your friends, man. Usually I kind of spit a little gospel at the end of the show. I don't have much to say other than I hope that we see a great, amazing race there on Sunday. I hope that all the fans enjoy it. I hope everybody at home on TV watching it enjoys it because Atlanta is a very unique, one-of-a-kind historic track in NASCAR. So there again, Atlanta Motor Speedway, everybody out there, got to give them a big shout-out as well. They're awesome, awesome people. Got an AC/DC tribute band live at the Peach Pit Saturday, which we're going to be hitting up. Hopefully that's going to be awesome. But like I said, man, make sure you love your family. Spend as much time with them as you can. We got family members that come and go. We all know time's not forever. Everybody has that time that it's time for them to go when they get called up to the big wheel in the sky, right? So at the end of the day, man, just make sure you call them. Spend as much time with them, especially your elder family members. Just make sure you spend time with them. Love them, man, because like I say, when you're gone, can't get them back, and they're all up here and in here, man. So love everybody out there. Hope you guys have a great weekend, great Saturday. Like I said, Guardians of the Jukebox, come up to coaches. Hey, till next week, we recap Atlanta. Love y'all. Stay safe, and as always, bam, wash your hands, y'all. Love y'all.